All right, here we are now. It's patch 6.9, very beginning of a new age. We're at our mid-season mage patch, basically. Normally, League of Legends does their biggest patches um, during the very end of the season, like right before Worlds, or during like the whole preseason phase. So this way the meta changes, everything gets reinvigorated for the next upcoming season. But they decided to do a mid-season change and do a lot of just adjustments, basically. So everything's going to be fucking different for a while now until people catch on what the new meta is going to be. Because the current meta for the past 2 months, for anyone who's not been here, it's basically been super tank top. And when I mean tanks, I mean people playing champions with good base damage, but building them tanky. So you have your Echoes, you have your Poppies, you had your Fizz, even sometimes. Champions with good base damage, but still build them pure tanks, so you just couldn't fucking kill them, but they could dive your back line and murder your backline's face. Along with that, we also had the carry junglers becoming prominent. Basically, the junglers were like, all right, top lanes, you had your time to carry last year with the juggernauts. It's our time to carry now. So you've been seeing a lot of kindreds, a lot of graves, the introduction of marksmen in the jungle now and everything, which is really innovative. Adds some options now for junglers to play. But the fact that these two alone, like these are the two top contested jungler picks, means that there is no option at the same time if everyone's going for the same two. Nidalee, Lee Sin, always been relevant as well in the jungle. Even though Nidalee got nerfed a couple patches ago, she's still a monster. All they did was kind of nerf her first clear a little bit, but she can still duel very, very fucking well. Mages, or mid laners, I guess I should say, not really mages. Mid lane has seen some fluctuation in champions for the most part, but right now we're at a point where a lot more late game control mages are very popular. We have the Vel'Koz, we have Azir being really dominant again. Rise is starting to see some comeback and everything as well. Bot lane, we've been seeing a lot more utility based AD carries than anything else right now. Or for the most part, and a lot more like tank engagey supports. So for supports, you're generally seeing Alistar, you're seeing Braum, you're seeing Thresh. I mean, those are kind of like the main supports you're seeing right now in high level play, at least.
Karma.
As my roommate Steve Slacker chimes in the back. Karma has been getting some play as well, but more as a mid laner than support. But her play is still the same way. Let me see, in 80 carries right now, Sivir has been relevant for the most part of this season, ever since they did the changes to her, where her Ricochet can now crit, where like all the bouncing blades can crit as well. Really ramped up her damage. Lucian has always been a viable pick. Tristana has been coming in and out of play ever since they did the Rage Blade touch-up, so now Rage Blade Tristana is a thing, which I find disgusting. Blue Ezreal still around, but due to the nerfs last patch to the Iceborne Gauntlet, I've been seeing some Ezreals go in Triforce just for the damage amplification now over the Iceborne Gauntlets, but those are basically your 80 carries you see. Caitlyn sometimes, if you're playing a very strict siege comp, and as long as you're composed enough in order to keep yourself safe. But that's basically where we are in the meta at this time being. Or better yet, that's where we were. Now let's take a look. The main feature of this whole patch is going to be the major mage updates. Basically, as you see right here, there are 6 mages that received a lot of touch-ups to their abilities or reworks in some cases. First one up is going to be Vladimir. Base health, they gave him 7 extra base health. But they took away 1 health per growth stat in like every level when you get health extra. They took 1 away. So early game, he's a little bit beefier, just a little bit. But by late game, like mid to late game, he actually loses a little bit on health. That's primarily due to the changes they did to his passive. His basic attack damage, they gave 4 to it. Because beforehand, Vladimir's primary way to last hit was always just with his transfusion. And his last hitting with his auto attacks was always very unreliable. It had a pretty weird animation and travel time. So they adjusted it by improving the damage on it. If you haven't noticed, I'm using my actual headset microphone right now. Primarily because my roommate Steve is watching an awesome show in the background. I'm trying to limit the background noise you guys can have, which my other mic would pick up no matter fucking what. Let me see. Crimson Pact. Same passive for Vladimir, but they've done some touch-ups on it. Instead of gaining 1 ability power per 40 bonus health, it's now you gain 1 ability power for every 25 bonus health. So a lot more health stacking itemization. So your Rylai's, your Leandries, those items are very good on Vladimir because you'll get a lot more ability power out of them that way directly. But in order to make this change balanceable, they took away how much bonus health you get from ability power. So instead of 1.4 bonus health per ability power, you get only 1 bonus health. So effectively, they're saying you can't just stack a bunch of AP items and be a meat shield still at the same time. So they're trying to direct your itemization path to the Rylai's Leandries combination. Transfusion. They've buffed the cooldown for the first 2 levels, but nerfed the cooldown for the last 2 levels. So early game, like levels 1 through 5, it's a little bit better. You can transfuse a bit more often, but post you get your ultimate, it's a little bit longer of a cooldown. The damage, they actually nerfed it as well, considerably at the higher levels, so it's not going to be dealing as much pop, and they also nerfed the damage ratio. So instead of a 0.6 ability power, it's now 0.45. The healing, though, has been left unchanged, like the flat healing, but the healing ratio for a bonus on top of that, they got nerfed as well. So transfusion right here looks like it got nerfed overall, but then now they added a new factor to it. It now has a new passive called Crimson Rush. After casting transfusion twice, Vladimir gains Crimson Rush once transfusion comes off cooldown again. While under the effects of Crimson Rush, Vladimir gains a short burst of speed, and his next transfusion within a short period of time deals double damage and heals for a portion of his missing health. So basically, you know how it is with League of Legends when it comes to their champions. They want everything being factors of 3. Like, do this 3 times, do this 3 times. They're not going to change that anytime fucking soon. But basically right here, while your transfusion is a little bit weaker innately on its own, just pew, pew. Once you get that third one primed up and ready to go, the fact that they're giving you a burst of speed makes it a lot easier now for you to actually stick to targets you're aiming for. And it's not specifying that you have to use these transfusions against like champions. So you can be like minion poke, rush in, transfuse a target for some burst. But the Crimson Restoration, you have 2.5 seconds where you have this burst of speed and amplified damage, and also gives you a healing bonus, flat 40 to 240 at levels 1 through 18, plus 1% extra for every 40 ability power you have. So basically, this is a very strong trading ability right here. So they had to nerf his basic damage early on. Okay, Nagafar, you have a point. With Jin, it is 4 instead of 3. He is the only one that's different, okay? Moving on. Let me see, what was I? Oh, yeah. So, Transfusion, they had to nerf the base damage, so this way Crimson Rush wasn't so punishing if you actually applied it and everything. So, we got that going on. Let me see. Is there a way I can cut? I kind of want to cut this shit out. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to do it. Sanguine Pool, basically the same, but the damage ratio now is only 0.10 of your bonus health instead of 0.15. So, small nerf to the Sanguine Pool. Otherwise, Troll Pool, still the same. Tides of Blood, they've updated it. It is a completely different ability. Beforehand, it was that whole just do an AoE around you, throw like blood sickles, what it looked like to me, everywhere around, and apply some decent damage. Excuse me. But now, I'll show you a visual of what it looks like now. Basically, you're doing like a Nova Blast from within you. And it does, as you saw, have a charge up feature to it. So you can sit there and build it up. Cost of it is 2.5 to 10% of your maximum health based on charge duration. So it does deal a fair amount of damage to you. The cooldown for it is about the same as what old Tides of Blood was. The range is 600, so it's about the same range as well. The damage, though, varies due to how much you charge it. And it does let me see, ratio 1 per 40 maximum health plus 0.35 ability power. Okay. To 1 per 10 maximum health based on charge duration. Oh, okay, gotcha. I was trying to read this. Basically, the damage amplification you get You get 1 extra damage per 40 maximum health, plus 0.35 ability power if you just go just a quick burst. Or you get 1 damage per 10 maximum health with a 0.7 ability power if you fully charge it. So mid to late game, this thing can actually hold a lot of burst. And at full charge, Vladimir is slowed while holding Tides of Blood. And while fully charged, it also slows enemies by 40% for 0.5 seconds. Now, this is actually relatively huge for Vladimir as a champion, because he's a champion that was nothing but damage. I mean, sure, his Sanguine Pool could slow someone, but that was also your only viable means of escape and damage mitigation. And to use it for CC was generally unwise. So now he has this means to actually slow targets and CC them down. Again, lots of bursts. Granted, it costs a fair amount of your health, but you do a massive chunk of damage. And I mean, again, once you see right here, Darius has quite a bit of health, and he had a good chunk of it bursted away just by this one ability. Imagine that on a squishier champion, like another mage or a marksman, or a squishy support, probably going to get chunked severely. Hemoplague, the duration of it now, instead of being a 5-second debuffer, it's now only 4 seconds. Instead of 12% increased damage from all sources, it's 10% increased damage from all sources. So small nerf to the how much extra damage you get by 2%. But upon detonation, Hemoplague now heals Vladimir for each enemy hit. And the base heal is 75, 125, 175. So it's similar to like an Evelynn ultimate, where more targets she hits, she gets a bigger shield. Whereas for Vladimir, once the thing explodes, it will heal him to this point. And the fact that it's 4 seconds works a lot better, actually, when it comes to his ability rotation. Because now he can Hemoplague a team, do a Tides of Blood, maybe a transfusion, and while people are trying to chunk him down, he can troll pool under them, stay in place, and by the time the troll pool is over, Hemoplague will pop, deal another chunk of damage, and heal Vladimir up again so he can do another Tides of Blood and a transfusion to follow. And the heal ratio also gets a 0.35 ability power per target. So he can heal considerable amounts. So, I mean, it's possible in a team fight, he could probably heal for like a good 1,000 health. And again, that's just not health sustain you're expecting sustain for Vladimir, but that's a lot more than even you're expecting. So that's it for Vladimir. Next one, Malzahar. General, they haven't done anything to his base stats. That's all going to be the same. Passive now is Void Shift. Instead of being the, after casting ability 4 times, you spawn a Voidling and stuff like that, they now give him Void Shift. Basically, while he's out of combat for a little bit, he gains Void Shift, which is a damage reduction of 90% on the next ability or damage done to him, and the cooldown is 23 to 6 seconds. And he's also immune to crowd control while his Void Shift's on, so you can't hurt him for the instant that it's up, and you can't crowd control him. So he can just freely walk in, get his CC off with not much problem. So that's actually a pretty cool means of making Malzahar a more reliable target, try to get in and apply his damage. Call of the Void is relatively the same as what it used to be. Mana cost got a buff. It's 60 flat mana at all ranks. Cooldown got buffed as well. Now the damage, though, got considerably nerfed due to it, along with the ability power and the cast time. So it takes even longer for it to actually... Wait, no, it's just cast time. Okay. So it takes longer for him to actually get the animation off, but once the thing is in place, there's no longer a delay for it to go like when it would actually apply the damage in silence. Now it's just instant. So that's cool. So more reliable source of damage. Again, they nerfed his damage otherwise, but the fact you can spam it a lot more is kind of cool. His new W ability is the Void Swarm. Basically, he summons a Voidling. The first time a Voidling attacks a champion, large monster, or epic monster, or assists in killing a unit, Malzahar spawns a new Voidling with the same remaining duration. When 3 or more Voidlings are active, they each gain 50% attack speed. So basically, he's going to summon an army of Voidlings to attack a motherfucker now. Costs 60 mana, has a fairly decent cooldown, so it's not something you can spam at all. Duration, Voidlings last only for 12 seconds. Now, when they say range, I don't know whether it means that's how far the Voidlings can be away from you, or just when you cast it, and then they can kind of free reign a little bit. Damage ratio is 0.3 up to 0.4 total attack damage, plus 0.1 ability power. So, since it's total attack damage, it's never going to be overwhelming. And if you get some ability power, I mean, it's all 0.1 ratio, but the fact that there's going to be 3 of them attacking, I mean, it won't be bad. I mean, it'll definitely make, the possibility of a Malzahar jungle a possibility. That is actually a very strong possibility. Voidlings deal triple damage to lane minions below 25% health, and Voidlings deal 75% damage to monsters. Okay, so maybe not as viable for jungle because they deal less damage to monsters, but it works. Additional Voidlings won't spawn if the current Voidling has less than 4 seconds of the duration left. So apparently there is a cap to how many Voidlings you can have before you're just stuck with what you have. It's still pretty good. Voidlings are preferred to attack targets affected by Malefic Visions or Nether Grasp, gaining 100% movement speed when moving toward them. Removed, think for yourselves. Voidlings no longer prefer to attack champions that Malzahar has basic attacked. Alright, now that was always a kind of cool thing to do with laning Malzahar. You would basically have a Voidling out, you would auto-attack the enemy champion, and the Voidling would automatically go and harass the motherfucker. Or you could use the focus fire minion to secure a last hit, because they would both land basically at the same time. So that's a little bit, lame, but otherwise, kind of cool. Malefic Visions, or as I call it, Space Aids. Damage on it has been greatly reduced, but mana cost has been reduced at later levels as well, so you don't run out of mana as fast. AP ratio has been dropped. Mana refund on an affected kill is now a percentage of your maximum mana instead of a flat amount. So if you're building mana items like a Rod of Ages, very common for Malzahar, you'll get a good chunk of your mana back. If an enemy is affected, if an afflicted enemy is hit by Call of the Void or Nether Grasp, Malefic Vision's duration is refreshed. Okay, so you cast Space Aids on a target, and if you're able to ult them or hit them with your call while it's active, the duration refreshes. So there's a possibility that you can have it refresh twice, because you can Nether Grasp them right before it wears off, and then you can just call them again, and Space Aids will just keep going and going and going and going. Alright, that's actually some pretty cool synergy where you try to combo your abilities in a certain way to get maximum damage output. Nether Grasp. Malzahar suppresses a target for 2.5 seconds and creates a zone of negative energy around them that deals damage to all enemies inside for the duration. Null Zone duration is 5 seconds. Damage, instead of being a flat damage, is now 6, 8 to 10%. Maximum health per second to all targets in the Null Zone. The ratio is now no longer 1.3 ability power. It's now 1.5% of the target's maximum health per 100 ability power per second. And there is no cast time, it's just instantaneous. Okay, so basically they took his old W, the Null Zone, which was the tank shred ability, and they put it into his ultimate. So his ultimate no longer has this whole base damage, where if you stack a lot of ability power, you can try to just 100 to 0 someone. But now when you lock someone down, the Null Zone is automatically created, and if you have a decent amount of ability power, you will deal a considerable amount of damage to all the targets within. So this makes him a little bit more team-oriented now. I mean, with the Voidlings, the fact you can keep refreshing Malefic Visions, and now your ultimate is still suppression but creates this area. So if you're fighting in a choke point and you lock down their front line, like their main engaged tank, and you lock them down, you basically zone out the rest of the team because they don't want to cross into your Null Zone, and you try to drop that tank. So, I say that's not bad. It's not bad at all. Cassiopeia is next, and this one I'm actually very excited about because I see some new implications with what her playstyle is going to be. Let me see. I need to check something real fast. Okay, so Cassiopeia, her base movement speed has been reduced a little bit. Some of her other base stats have been slightly adjusted, and she has new ability icons. Whatever. Her new passive is now Serpentine Grace. She now gains 4 movement speed per level. Now, tactically at level 1, she gets 4, so she's actually 332 from 335, barely a nerf. But Cassiopeia cannot purchase boots anymore, because how can she use it? She's a snake. But then again, how can Nami, how can Vel'Koz? We're not going to go into that. So basically, she keeps gaining movement speed per level, so she naturally just moves faster. And since you no longer need to buy boots, that gives you a 6th item slot for some sort of damage. So Cassiopeia, more damage. Noxious Blast, higher mana cost at earlier levels. And the cooldown is a little bit lower though. So you can spam it more, but it'll be hurting your mana pool. The damage at later ranks are a little bit higher. The AP ratio though, got a considerable buff from 0.45 to 0.7, but the cast range is only 750 from 850, so it's a little bit harder to harass the back line. And no more "there's a snake in my boot" jokes. Well put, Democrats. Bonus movement speed on hit. Instead of giving you 20% bonus movement speed if you hit a champion with your Noxious Blast, it's now 30 to 50% bonus, but decays over the duration, so you have an even easier time, like a strong surge, to stay on a target and keep applying poison. Miasma, this ability got changed. Beforehand, it was that small pool that would just grow and grow and grow of poison that would deal moderate damage, but it was more just a wave clear mechanic. You would drop in the middle of the minion wave, and it would almost take care of the wave itself. But now, she spews venom in the arc in front of her, leaving toxic clouds. Let's see. This is what it's going to look like. Now, as you can see, it has a very considerable AoE range. I want to see if that adjusts at all. The mana is 70 mana, cooldown 22 to 14, so not spammy at all early game, but late game, you can maybe get 2 off in a team fight depending on positioning. It lasts for 5 seconds, so that's a long time for that to stay there. The damage is 20 to 80, 20 up to 80 damage per second, which, again, moderate damage, nothing great. The ratio is not too good either with 0.15, but the slow is 40 to 80%, decaying over the duration, so people are really slow in it. The range is from 550 to 800. Cloud raise is 160. So for the range, I'm wondering if that means casting range or the width of it, like a Nivea wall. Because if that was just casting range, that would not be bad still. But the main thing about this miasma is that it has now grounding in it. So any sort of dash, flash, escape tool you cannot use if you're in miasma, which is huge, because as you saw by the range, she closed off an entire lane with that ability. I mean, I'm just going to pause just once she casts it. Right here, there is no escape avenue. You can't dash over it, you can't flash over it. I mean, you could probably flash over it still, I guess, but you would have to just barely get over the range. But the second you touch it, you are grounded in place. Now, the main thing I'm feeling about this ability, Cassiopeia was already the queen when it came to counter engages and counter initiations because of her petrifying gaze. But now, this alone also takes another avenue away. Let's say, you notice how the curvature of this, it's a partial banana? That's actually the same curvature, by the way, of the wall for the Baron Pit and for the Dragon Pit. So basically, if you're doing the Baron Pit fight, you can basically, let's assume this is the Baron Pit, and right over here is the little brush if you're red side jungle. They can be inside doing the Baron Pit, and you can do miasma and cut off that entire wall and make it so the enemy jungler doesn't have the opportunity to try to jump, flash, or anything over to try to attempt to steal. They would either have to go around and go through that mouth where you're walking to a Cassiopeia where she can just petrify and gaze you, or you have to walk all the way around to the one little spot on the north wall, which basically gives away where you are, and people can try to body block you or deal with you in their own way. Yeah, I'm pronouncing it miasma. That's what I think of. Come on. Shut up. Leave me alone. Okay, So I think that's actually really cool. So when it comes to Dragon and Baron fights, she's going to be even more of a force because she's going to deny the enemy jungler and enemy team avenues to try to contest and basically just force one area, which is where she wants you to be, which is coming into her for Petrifying Gaze. All right. As it sounds like, except more scary, not like a shrieking bird. Twin Fang. The mana cost got nerfed early but buffed late, so they're trying to make it so she's not such a bully in the laning phase. But the cooldown went from 5 seconds to now 0.9 seconds. So not even every second you can Twin Fang an opponent. Now the base damage of it went from 55 to 155 to 52 to 120 as based on levels. Really? Interesting. So the only thing you're trying to adjust with leveling it is just the mana cost. Even then, interesting. The ratio is 0.455 now to 0.1, so it deals less damage on its own, considerably. No longer reduces the cooldown to 0.5 seconds when you hit a poison target, but it's already 0.9, so it's still fairly spammy. And no longer refunds an additional 1.5% of Cassiopeia's maximum mana on kill, but it still refunds 100% of its cost. So you can still use the last hit, similar to like Annie's Fireball. It will just refund the cost. It won't give you a large chunk of your mana back. But now, if the target's poisoned, Twin Fang will deal an additional 10, 40, 70, 100, 130, plus 0.35 ability power damage. Okay, so this is why you would potentially level up to level 5, so you can get the bonus damage from the target being poisoned. And if the target's poisoned, it also heals you for 5 up to 25 with a 0.1 ability power ratio. So, not terrible, honestly. It's definitely meant to be a comboed ability. I mean, that's how the old one was too. But they don't want you to just try to spam Twin Fang on a target without applying any sort of poison to them, because the damage is going to be fairly weak. But once you poison a motherfucker, your damage and your sustain is going to be fairly high. Petrifying Gaze, they buffed the cooldowns at later ranks. And the slow, they nerfed the slow, so it's not as strong if the opponents do look away and everything and just get slowed anymore. But still, more opportunity in mid to late game to try to get your Petrifying Gaze off. Overall, I could see her being a highly contested champion if your team is trying to go for more Dragon and Baron controlled focused game play style, because you can deny a lot of avenues. Okay, next one's going to be the Zyra. Let me see. Zyra's base health. She's got a little bit more on her now. She's no longer a squishy little bush. Because just like a flower, she would die to like any sort of stomping. Base movement speed went up, so she's a little bit faster now. Okay, she has a new passive now, Garden of Thorns. Beforehand, her passive was when she would die, she would turn to her plant and shoot a skill shot true damage nuke. That is now gone. But now she periodically spawns plants around her. Plant seed lifetime is 30 seconds, so they last only for 30 seconds. I need a sip of something right now because my mouth's getting a little dry from all the talking. No, I agree with that, Mihawk. Actually, with the new dragons being very highly contested, depending on what buffs are available, having a Cassiopeia that can basically tunnel your opponents through one spot, she can get a lot more play. But anyways, seeds only last for 30 seconds, so they don't last indefinitely. They last for like one minion wave. And their plant health is now 4 instead of 6. Okay. Plant damage. Oh, so this is where those are going to be in now. The ability power ratio got a small nerf, and the plant damage, base damage got a nerf as well. But the fact that you're spawning seeds all on your own instead of having to just actually position them, I guess makes it easier. But the only problem is I don't see how it works when it comes to actually trying to set up a siege of any sort, because you don't choose where the plants go. Interesting. It makes it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this because it just spawns them randomly around you from how it raids. All right, Deadly Spines replacing Deadly Bloom. A little bit lower mana cost, a little bit less damage, and a little bit less ability power. Size increased. If they hit plants, size increased now grows in a rectangle instead of a circle. Okay, yeah, this is the ability. Instead of being that little circle just burst, it's now a rectangle instead, so it covers a wider portion. Grows plants slightly outside the damaged area, like grasping roots. So even if you don't hit plants directly on it, as long as it's close, you'll still spawn ranged plants. Okay, rampant growth. No longer grants cooldown reduction. Increases the seed lifetime to 60 seconds. So it makes your seeds last a lot longer just by having one rank. But it increases the health of your plants by 10 to 50%. So this basically makes it so your plants can stay alive a lot longer once they're active and apply more damage. They didn't change her snare at all, so that's still the same. Strangle Thorns. Looks like the damage and everything remain the same. No longer grants 50% attack speed to plants, but now it grants them 50% bonus damage. Basically, instead of the plants attacking a lot faster, they're just going to hit like a truck now. So that's how Strangle Thorns is going to work. I don't know. I don't like the randomness of Garden of Thorns. The fact that it just spawns them randomly. Because, I mean, the ideal plan was if you're going to go aggro on someone, you would, like, especially if your Grasping Roots, you would throw your Grasping Roots at the target already and then plant a seed, like, right on top of the while the animation was already going. So you would automatically get the snare plus the melee plant that would apply damage and slow them, and then you could apply a Deadly Bloom after that for burst damage. But the fact it's random, I don't know, it feels weird. Well, I'll have to see how this actually works in game. Brand received a very considerable change. I mean, Brand was always a very risky but high DPS hyper carry mage. I mean, his damage in team fights was always terrifying, but he had no mobility. He was hard to self-peel because he would have to cast two abilities in order to land a stun on our target. So it was pretty easy to catch him and try to kill him out. But in team fights, he always thrived because he always applied a lot of damage. But now they've given him more opportunities to deal damage. Basically, rather than give him mobility or self-peel, they're just going, okay, you're meant to do damage. We're going to make sure you do damage. New passive is Blaze. New, you drop the bomb on me. Blaze stacks up to 3 times. Upon reaching maximum stacks, Blaze detonates in a large area around the target. Blaze damage, instead of 8% of the target's maximum health over 4 seconds, it now deals 2% of the target's maximum health over 4 seconds per stack. So, the passive damage got nerfed, because beforehand it would chunk people considerably hard. But as you keep applying more stacks, it keeps refreshing and applying more damage. Detonation damage, though, is 12 to 16% of the target's maximum health at levels 1 through 9. And plus 1.5% of the target's maximum health per 100 ability power. Brand can't stack Blaze on targets who have exploded in the last 4 seconds. So basically, after you get the damage in play and everything and start proccing the detonation, it deals a massive amount of damage, not just to that target, but just to everything within. And apparently, it can apply on itself. So technically, the explosion counts as an ability, which we will see right here. Not bad. Not bad indeed. Okay, Seer got a nerf overall. Not as long of a stun, not as much damage or AP ratio. Pillar of Flame got a buff to its cooldown and a buff to its mana cost. So Pillar of Flame, spam it more often. Conflagration got a nerf to its damage in both ratio and base damage. but the cooldown got nerfed, so it's easier for you to try to apply it to do the whole spread the fire. Pyroclasm got a nerf to its base damage and AP ratio, so that's actually kind of huge. But let me see, heating up now prioritizes detonating blaze on champions. This means Pyroclasm now prioritize champions by default and prefers targets with 2, 1, and 0 stacks rather than 3 in an attempt to trigger a detonation. Alright, so Pyroclasm will autopilot to try to hit targets that will set up his passive explosion and not focus on targets that are already ready to explode. And it also now slows enemies by 30, 45 to 60%. Okay, so basically, oh, that's just on the blaze. Ooh. So just by ranking your ultimate, your passive now will automatically slow targets, makes it easier to land your other abilities, but it will prioritize champions that are about ready to blow up and make it so you get what you saw right here. I'm going to fast forward, where you just see explosion, explosion. So yeah, Brand's damage is going to be really ridiculous. Wait, what? Da. I do what I want. You do not question me. Last change for the Major Mage updates is going to be Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz, cool champion. Passive organic deconstruction now. The base damage got nerfed, but now it additionally scales with 0.4 ability power. So that's actually a damage increase. A very considerable damage increase in true damage. Plasma Fission now refunds 50% of its mana cost for each unit killed by Plasma Fission, up to a maximum of 150%. So, boop, boop. You can potentially get, yeah, extra mana back if you kill shit with it. Kind of cool. Trying to encourage farming with it. Void Rift got a nerf to the AP ratio for when the rift first starts and then explodes. So they're trying to take that away from being the primary harass and farming tool where you just W the wave and then W the wave again and boom, there's no wave. Tectonic Disruption got a nerf to the ability power ratio, but now his new ultimate, Research and Destroy. Deconstructed champions become researched for the next 7 seconds, refreshed by basic attacks and abilities. Lifeform Disintegration Rate deals true damage to research targets instead of magic. It no longer applies his passive anymore, thankfully, because that would be even more absurd. But they actually buffed his damage, and they buffed the ability power ratio, and buffed the cooldown. So when you light up people with Disintegration Ray, which you're in a teamfight area, like you're in a crowded corridor, which is perfect for him, you hit a Void Rift on the enemy team, they are all now researched. You open up with all this true damage. That is going to be crazy, I tell you. Alright, and that's it really for the Major Mage updates. Alright, and then we have, as you see here, 10 minor changes to other mages. Again, very small scale one. After we go through these 10 right here, we're going to take a small little break. That'll be a good point to try to cut this up because I'm actually recording this and I'm going to upload this as well. So it'll give me 2 videos. Because I'm hoping the rest after this will not be as lengthy as the mage updates. Alright, first we'll start with Anivia. Basic missile attack speed. They increase the movement speed on her auto attack, which is so necessary. She's always been so painful to last hit with. Let me see. Flash Frost. They gave a nerf to the ability power ratio and to the base damage at later levels. So the double damage proc won't be as impactful. But the stun duration is now higher. Beforehand, it was a 1-second stun at all ranks. Now it can actually go up to 1.5 seconds. I would say with a little bit lack of the damage, that's actually fine. I say that's an okay adjustment. And now the slow, Get ooh. With each rank you have in your ultimate, the Flash Frost slow is even greater when it passes on over units. Not bad. The wall left unchanged. Frostbite. The missile speed is a lot faster now. Cast range 650 measured from Anivia's hitbox center to her opponents is now 600 measured from Anivia's hitbox edge to her opponents. Overall range buff of 35. So she has a little bit longer range to apply Frostbite, and it gets there fucking fast. Glacial Storm, they gave a little buff to the cast range, but they nerfed the radius of it. I mean, it went from a 400 radius to now 150. I wish I could actually see a video of this. That looks pretty noticeable. Slow from 20% to now 20, 30, 40. So it's a greater slow for units actually are in there. No longer slows attack speed. So against a marksman, that's no longer a hindrance to them. Glacial Expansion now expands to a radius of 400 over 3 seconds. Okay. So over time, it'll swell up. At maximum size, Glacial Storm's damage, chill duration, and slows are increased by 50%. Alright, so once you get it to maximum size, its damage, CC, and everything about it, all increased. That is actually kind of cool. So it starts off as this like little boop, little droplet and just swells up, and then you do not want to trespass through that at all. It will fucking wreck you. Alright, Annie. Bears! Pyromania. Pyromania stacks are now displayed under Annie's health bar, similar to Jen's bullets. Alright, that's kind of cool, since rather than having that whole little passive icon, we have to read the icon, you now have a visual indicator that's more direct. That kind of works. Kind of works. And yeah, it's a good way to put it, actually. Anivia's ultimate is like Cassiopeia's old miasma. Let me see. Incinerate. They increased the range of her W. That was her cone nuke. So the range of it is higher. Easier to stun people. Molten Shield no longer lasts as long. And does not give you flat armor and MR, but now gives you a percentage damage reduction for the duration. But it no longer speeds up Timber. So basically, it just makes this you directly take less damage, which I feel that is a lot better than actually having flat stats applied. Because once you consider people getting penetration items and everything, and Molten Shield was generally your last item to level up, the 50 armor and magic resistance never really did much. But 40% damage reduction, that'll do a lot. Tibbers, Jesus Christ, Tibbers has a lot of notes. The damage for summoning Tibbers got nerfed overall. They took 25 damage off of each rank. And they took some ability power ratio out as well. And the aura damage is weaker too, and the aura ratio. So Tibbers alone deals less damage, summoning him and him actually walking around. And even his attack damage, wow. But he now has an AP ratio for his auto attacks. I guess that's keeping this relatively the same. Tibbers' attack range got a slight buff, not bad. Tibbers' AI has been improved to better follow Annie's commands and reduce cases where he suddenly stops doing anything. Annie can now command Tibbers to follow her by selecting herself as Tibbers' target. Okay. Keep up. While out of combat for at least 5 seconds, Tibbers gains movement speed while moving toward Annie and regenerates 6% of his maximum health every second. So you can use him, let him heal up on the side, and then use him to tank something else. Baroids. Tibbers enrages on summon, ignoring unit collision and gaining 275% bonus attack speed. Fuck. And 100% bonus movement speed to gain over 3 seconds. So once you first pop him, he's just there going, Dah! Mauling everyone he sees. Burning Rage, using Pyromania on enemy champion, also causes Tibbers to enrage. Okay. And Bear Vengeance. If Annie dies while Tibbers is summoned, Tibbers instantly regenerates 50% of his missing health, enrages, and targets Annie's killer. If Annie's killer is too far away, Tibbers will focus the lowest health champion instead. Tibbers is going to go on a rampage of vengeance. Right. You killed my little girl, Petal Bear does not approve. Wow. Okay, I kind of like the Annie change. It's a lot. I mean, they increased her range to incinerate. They made her more durable with Molten Shield, and they made it so playing around Tibbers is now huge because he's gonna be a fucking animal, literally. I kind of like these changes. Fiddlesticks. Passive updated. Dread. Fiddlesticks gains Dread after not moving for 1.5 seconds. Immobilizing crowd control resets its timer. If Fiddlesticks has Dread, moving causes him to gain bonus movement speed. And it lasts for 1.5 seconds, and it gives him 25 up to 40% bonus movement speed based on levels for your ultimates. So 1.5 seconds, that's the same duration it takes to channel his ultimate. So he can sit there, channel, when he comes out, he has a surge of speed to get on his targets. And same thing, if you're standing there draining on someone, they walk away, you have a movement speed, you can chase back up to them. I kind of like that, it's kind of cool. Terrify has a smaller range, but they didn't touch the CC cooldown on that, that's fine with me. Drain, oh my god. Oh, okay. Never mind. Cooldown now begins at the end of Drain's channel instead of just being a flat cooldown. Okay, that's not bad. Dark Wind, number of bounces is up to 7 instead of 5, and now prioritizes Drain targets. So this way, hey, you're in a small, not a full scale team fight, but maybe a small scuffle. You're you throw Dark Wind and start draining a target, it will always try to bounce back to that target and just keep reapplying. And the fact that 7 bounces, that's a considerable amount of extra damage, especially for his jungle clear. Not bad. Crowstorm. Close enough. Will cast at maximum range if cast out of range. Oh, thank God. Okay, something that always infuriated me whenever I would actually play Fiddlesticks is if I meant, like, I'm in a bush, and I think I'm casting maximum range for it, but I'm actually casting a little bit too far, and my character would walk out of the fucking bush and then start channeling in front of fucking everybody. Now it's like, you're channeling outside of your range. We're assuming you meant this range, so it won't just automatically move your character. And now uses the on my way ping when you're channeling. So once you start channeling ultimate, the game will ping saying on my way, basically letting your allies know that there's about to be a fucking crow storm here. Overall, kind of cool. And the changes to the crow storm, more quality of life changes. Not bad, not bad. Keenan, the Pikachu of League of Legends. Mark of the Storm. Mark duration is now 6 seconds instead of 6.25. Stun duration is unchanged. Reduced effect window, 6 seconds after last stun. And additional stuns are 0.5 seconds. So they just clean up some numbers, it looks like. Subnova Cloak. Thundering Shuriken. Uses less energy, so it's a little bit more forgiving for you in your rotation of spells. Same with Electric Surge. But Electric Surge has a 50 less range to like zap people once they're applied. Overall, not bad. Slicing Maelstrom is no longer limited to striking the same target 3 times per cast, but only the first 3 strikes on a target will apply Mark of the Storm. So you can hit a target multiple times, but the only 3 are going to apply Storm and actually stun them. Damage is left unchanged, 25% per bolt, 50% minimum damage. Duration is 3 seconds at all ranks. 0.5 seconds tick rate. Let me see, damage per target. Each tick now strikes every target in the area, including minions and monsters. What? Each tick now strikes every target in the area, including minions and monsters. Am I reading this right? Like, is it effectively like a crow storm now, where it just zaps everything, or is it still like psh, 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 psh? And does each strike have like a little AoE? I'm not sure how I'm reading this. It's not come up that clear. I'm not sure. Because if it's like a crow storm where it just zaps everything within, 1.5 seconds in, everyone's CC locked. And then you still have a few more seconds of just applying damage. I'm going to have to try out fucking Cannon. Swain Train. Basic attack missile speed. That's actually kind of cool. But Swain already had, in my mind, the cleanest attack animation for any mage, like magic-based champion. It was always a very smooth, it was instantaneously fired, but they made it even faster, so it's even easier to last hit with him, which I'm a big fan of. Karen Renewal is passive. Flat regen on kill. He got buffed, so he gets more mana back per kill. Not bad. Decrepify. Swain orders Beatrice to fly towards the center of a target area for a short duration. While deployed, Beatrice will target the closest enemy, dealing damage per second and slowing it. Beatrice switches targets if the current target leaves or is killed. So, cooldown is about the same. Cost, range, radius. Okay. So, deals 100% bonus damage to minions. Okay, that's actually really cool now. Swain always struggled at wave clear. So while this is probably better to again try to focus on like an enemy champion, like harass him in the back line, but now you can use this actually to throw it on the minion wave, like throw it on the melee minions, just psh, psh, just kill them off. Never move. Mana cost got buffed, thank God. Torment. Ooh. Okay, so Torment got a nerf on its base damage. Got a buff though on its AP ratio, so it'll kind of make up for it. But now it deals 20% of Swain's damage at all ranks, amplification, instead of 8 up to 20. So even at level 1, you can trade a lot more power. And if Swain afflicts someone with Torment, Decrepify will prioritize that champion. Or that target. So if you're really trying to focus damage on one target, Torment them, put Decrepify over them, and just focus them directly. Ravenous Flock. Swain spawns lesser ravens every 0.2 seconds, dealing damage to targets around him. Lesser ravens heal Swain upon return to him, prioritizing champions. Cooldown has gone up, so you can't spam it as much in like small skirmishes or trying to heal up in the minion wave. Cost. Let me see. 25 mana plus 5, 6, 7 additional mana per second. Or 25 mana plus 5 additional mana per second at all ranks. Okay. Cool. So, not as draining on you anymore. Healing against minions. 15%. Maximum number of ravens, 5. Lesser ravens can attack the same target for 1 second. Wow. So you heal less overall by hitting minions, but you spawn more ravens now. So you, in an actual team fight now, you can actually hit all 5 fucking champions and heal for 75% of the damage dealt. Instead of only hitting 3 and the other 2 are getting away scot-free. I like playing Swain a lot, so this is actually kind of cool. I'm going to also give him a look. Syndra, Dark Spheres, deal 50%, blah, blah, blah. Dark Spheres last an additional 2 seconds. I actually feel that's better than the extra damage, because now spheres can last longer. You can build up more spheres to empower your ultimate. Force of Will bonus, slow duration increase. Force of Will now grabs up to 2 additional spheres within 400 range of the primary target, increasing the size of the slow and damage zone on reactivation. Okay, so if you have multiple spheres, you pick them all up and just chuck them in a motherfucker. AP ratio for Dark Sphere got buffed to make up for the Dark Sphere change, so actually the damage hasn't changed at all. Force of Will now displays a maximum throw radius while bending units to your will. And Scatter the Weak. What? Yeah. Scatter the Weak. They just buffed the earlier cooldowns. Yeah, so Syndra now can throw more than 1 ball at a time. Which I'm still not a fan of her either, but I guess it's
just because I'm a Heimer main.
What?
I said maybe I just hate her because I'm a Heimer main.
Yeah, she's like, oh, that's a nice turret you have there, Heimerdinger.
Be a shame
if it's in the river.
It'd
It'd be a shame if it just ended up in the river, and you're like, Free ward?
No, she kills you with your own turrets. It's annoying.
I know.
Oh, that bitch. Fuck her. I mean, I
She's
would
not that
too.
bad. She's not that bad
I
looking.
would too, but
All right, let's look at the Master of Evil, Vigar. Vigar, whatever you say. Phenomenal Evil Power. Striking an enemy champion with an ability grants Vigar stacks of Phenomenal Evil. Phenomenal Evil gives Vigar 1 ability power per stack. Interesting.
meh.
So, you just hit enemy champions with abilities, you keep stealing ability power.
Permanently.
Permanently.
So instead of last hitting, you stack.
No, that's still in there too.
both things.
Yeah. His old passive was it was basically a chalice. Like, for every 1% of your mana you were missing, you gained that much in regen.
I remember.
Yeah, so now they just said, you know what, we're not going with regen. You're meant to be power.
So he's just gonna have to build a chalice.
Yeah.
Seems okay.
I know, it seems very doable. Alright, 1 second. I'm looking at some shit, so I'm going to try to keep things closed up a little bit. Okay. Baleful Strikes grants a stack of Phenomenal Evil on kill, grants 2 for large minions or monsters, no longer grants 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ability power on champion takedown. So they took away the basically the passive from here and just put it into his new passive where you just need to hit them to get some ability power, not necessarily kill them. And they buffed the mana cost so you can spam it more often. Primarily due to the fact that since they got rid of his healing, his mana regeneration factor, they had to address his mana costs. Dark Mana, Matter, buff on the mana cost. Event Horizon, buff on the mana cost. Primordial Boist. Instead of being 250, 375, 500 base damage, it's now 175 to 350, 250 to 500, and 325 to 650 based on target's missing health. And the AP ratio also goes up based on target's missing health. So this ability could be a tank killer, in all realistically. I mean, you're still going to have a decent amount of base, like burst damage to chunk out a marksman or a fellow squishy. But it's no longer going to be, I have 1,000 ability power. I'm just going to press R on their Lucian. Lucian's dead. So it's not going to deal as much damage off of that anymore. But if you're facing a target that's been taking considerable amount of damage, like, again, like a fighter, bruiser, tank, something like that, you can really fucking chunk them. So he still has the capability to assassinate, but a lot more play around just dealing considerable damage to beefier sources. Victor. Siphon power, cooldown, got buffed. Missile damage, got buffed. Ability power, got buffed. Powered attack damage, got nerfed. Yeah, I got nerfed for later on. Base shield is now 8% of Victor's total mana instead of a flat amount. That's technically a buff. Once you get over like 1,400 mana, you're good. Which, actually, I don't know. That would require you to go rod and shield ratio, ability power, and oh, goody. Thank you.
I picked the ones I'm gonna use, so the rest of them you can help yourself.
Very well. I don't know. This could be a buff as long as you change the itemization maybe a little bit. If you actually go for an Archangels and a Roa, that'd be a buff. Actually, no. Itemization-wise, that would not work with him that well still. So, yeah, that's technically a nerf. Death Ray, damage, unchanged. AP ratio, though, got nerfed. Augmented damage. Instead of 100% Death Ray's damage is now... it has its own base damage and AP ratio. No longer reduces detonation damage by 60% against targets already hit by Death Ray. Okay. Ray and aftershock damage, 90. Ooh. Okay. Ray and aftershock damage, so when you buff it and all of a sudden just explodes, it deals considerable more damage now. Laser speed is a lot faster. The delay, though, on the explosion, though, got nerfed. Okay, so it's a lot easier to hit targets with the laser directly because it just goes right through. But the explosion has a little bit more of a delay on it, so landing the actual burst is a little bit harder. As long as you have targets CC'd by any means, the damage is a buff. But if you don't have them CC'd at all, it's a nerf. Okay.
Who was that, Belfast?
Victor!
Victor. Oh, so when you have the thing on his red beam.
Yeah, basically they made the explosion damage even stronger.
But it's harder to land, you said.
Well,
So it combos really well with his gravity field, assuming you can actually
yeah.
keep him in.
The base laser damage got nerfed, but the explosion got buffed considerably. But it takes longer for it to explode.
I see.
So unless you have them CC'd, they can dodge the explosion. Alright, Chaos Storm. Lasts 1 second less. Initial damage is a little bit lower. A little bit less ability power. Tick rate. Ooh. Oh, okay. That's interesting. Gesundheit.
Thank you.
Beforehand, it would do tick damage every 0.5 seconds. So it would deal like this much with a certain AP ratio, just going keep applying damage. But now it's just going to fly around and just and hit you with a considerable amount of damage and AP ratio. So Chaos Storm is going to do less like sustained damage, but more just every 2 seconds, just burst, and burst. All right, that's actually not bad. It's kind of cool. Because if you can catch people off guard, and rather than them seeing their health just going dwindle, it's just going to get chunked and then chunked. It's going to be harder to play against if you're not ready for that kind of burst coming through. Alright, let me see. How many more we got left to do? We got Xerath and Ziggs left. Xerath, the width of his Arcana Pulse got reduced by 5. Okay. Shotgun Orb, stun duration, based on distance. Okay. So, weaker stun if they're point blank, but if you're hitting max range, it's a 2-second stun. That's actually kind of cool, because that means you can hit both your Q and your W off on that target while they're still CC'd. So if you manage to snipe them, you can burst them. Rite of the Arcane. The damage for the ability got buffed at rank 1, but it got nerfed at later ranks. Number of barrages, though. 3 at all ranks to 3, 4, and 5. Range increased by 10%. Impact radius increased by 10. Delay between shots is now 0.8 instead of 0.6. Now zooms out to give Xerath a better view of the battlefield. Okay, so they're giving them the Gen treatment, where it just zooms back and everything so you can see the whole battlefield better. That is actually cool, because it's always annoying to, like, Ultimate and have to drag the mini-map and be like, here. It gives you a much better scope of, better view of the battle. And the Rite of the Arcane particles have been updated. Okay. So they nerfed the damage at later ranks, but they gave him more barrages. So this is a buff for him. They increase the range, increase the impact, and you get a better view. This is a buff for Xerath completely right here. He is going to be... I mean, he was already good at long range, like sniping people out, but he's going to be able to hit 5 times at later ranks. What's the AP ratio again? No change to the AP ratio, looks like, so not bad. And then Ziggs. Passive, short fuse. Instead of it being... Huh. Okay, so they're giving a buff to the damage at all ranks, considerably high once you hit higher rank anyways. But reduction on ability use for the 4, 5, 6. Okay, so short fuse, auto attack, enhanced damage, kaboom. Has higher AP scaling, and once you get higher ranks, like 1, 7, 13, it reduces the cooldown greater once you land abilities on champions. Satchel Charge can now be used on turrets below 25 to 35% of their maximum health to instantly destroy them. Ziggs' Satchel Charge.
Okay.
25 to 35% of the maximum health based on level. If it's under a turret with that much health left, instantly destroys it. So if a turret's at only 35% health and that thing's maxed out, you insta-kill it.
That's ridiculous. Wait, and you said it does percent-based damage to champions now? Or
No, it still does its normal damage. But basically, you're fucking blowing up a building.
Seems good, but you have to use your escape, so it can't be just like a last-ditch effort and then like you get
Yeah.
fucking...
If anything, you're like, I'm giving up my life for this turret.
Right.
You die going, worth. And then Mega Inferno Bomb. No longer deals double damage to minions, but they have buffed the cooldown. So you can't use it anymore, just a cross-map wave clear, but you can throw it around more often later on in the game. The Satchel Charge, that's still so cool. They can just instantly destroy turrets. But, in all fairness, it makes sense. Alright, we'll be back in a little bit.